What gets you up in the morning?
Oh, I don't know. Sometimes not so much. I mean, honestly, the past year and a half, it's been Instagram. Since I don't have a day job, I've been, I'm kind of stuck in that sense that I can't really get a job for certain aspects because of my health issues and the damage that caused back in the day. So I'm kind of in a tight spot in that sense, and it's hard to get jobs in general in Santa Fe anyway. So I've been slowly trying to make my way through school, and therefore finding myself into computer-related design. And we'll see where that takes me.
And you said Instagram, just like the serotonin
Yeah, I mean,
kick
I've been working really hard on my photography and reaching out. And because I have such a limited social network, Instagram has been kind of really key to me for reaching out. And Instagram's given me everything. Basically everything that's happened in my quote-unquote advances in photography have been through Instagram. So Instagram is a love-hate relationship. It's kind of like big cities in that sense, where you get drawn into the frenzy of it, and you're running to the subway train even though it's a new one is going to be due in 2 minutes. It doesn't really matter, but you're still running to that train that leaves 2 minutes before the other train. And that's kind of how Instagram is. It's really in order, and especially now they've shifted their algorithms and how those quote-unquote work. Makes it even more so that you have to be vigilant and post regularly and be even notice how some of your posts are doing. I on many occasions I used to post every day. I'm down to 2 to 3 a week now. And that's basically because the changes of Instagram's algorithms have been so disappointing and so extremely exhausting to fight against, because that's really what it feels like. I think it's the financial aspect of they notice that you do well on certain posts, they automatically decrease you into the depths of the deep depths of Instagram, and want you to buy a business account, or ads through your business account.
So the second question I ask everybody is, what gets you angry? Is this your answer? Because Instagram's getting you up. Is it also getting you mad?
On really rare days these days, I used to get super pissed, and I get pissed easily with a lot of things because I'm political and I'm on the left, and all the conservatives are going to enjoy that. But I'll say that that's true because that's what drives. Anyway, Instagram used to get me really pissed. It can still get me pissed. And if I get riled up with other people, I'll definitely be pissed about it. But I mean, I don't want it to steal my everyday peace. I mean, don't we have enough BS, just raining and pouring around us as it is?
Oh, yeah. Pick any year in history. Human life is a pretty difficult task.
Yeah, and especially with, COVID being the grand finale of Trump's presidency and all the frenzy that came around that, it's mind-boggling that we're all even alive to have sustained.
What's the most fun you've had in post-vaccine Santa Fe?
Oh, the most fun. That would probably involve crowds.
Yes.
I haven't really done much. I went to one event, a DJ thing at Leaf and Hive, and it was pretty busy, sweaty,
nice,
and late. And that's pretty much the only events I think we've done. I go down to Albuquerque a lot. I go to the Sawmill, and I remember I was at the Sawmill's opening, which was literally the day when I think New Mexico realized that they were going to have to shut down. And it was so psychologically terrifying.
Is Sawmill a food court art installation?
The big food court down there in Albuquerque.
Cool.
It's a gorgeous.
I haven't been, so it tried to open right before the pandemic.
Oh my gosh, they have so much good stuff. I haven't ventured out at all because I get stuck in certain routines really easily, and food is one of them. So I go down to. I mean, I love trying new stuff. Don't get me wrong, but their tacos you can't get them up here in Santa Fe.
Oh yeah, the tacos in Albuquerque are like 5 times as good.
Well, they have a street taco vendor there that does a chicken mole, and a pork pibil, and it's Flora. The name of the restaurant is Flora, and they do great cocktails, and the food court in general is aesthetically pleasing design-wise. You can get Iconics coffee through Plata Coffee down there.
Okay.
And they have a really nice courtyard with a bunch of fun games and nice
cool.
tap rooms.
Do they have bocce?
Oh yeah, I think. Wait,
If
no,
they have bocce ball,
I don't
I'm
know. They
sold.
don't have any of those. It's more like foosball and all that stuff.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Which just screams music tour for me, because that's what we did when we were on tour. If we came to a venue that had a foosball game, you're set.
You're listening to Artists with Brian. I'm Brian here with
Sara Culler.
Sara is a photographer, contemporary urban and minimalist landscape, to mention a few. She's appeared in the Santa Fean. She's won 2 minimalist photography awards. Visit her website at saracullerphotography.com or on Instagram while we talk at Sara Culler. That's SARACULLER. Season 3 of Artists with Brian is brought to you by howtoplaypoker.video. Learn how to win money for free. 64 videos, 1.2 million views, 95% like ratio. Learn how to win money for free. Visit howtoplaypoker.video now. Sara, how did somebody from Sweden, or who spent so much time developing in Sweden, find your elegant eye for the American Southwest?
I don't think there's a super grand difference in those two scenes. And I mean, if you're looking at a artistic or design perspective, the Scandinavian designs very much utilize a lot of the same color schemes, a lot of the same minimalist approaches in general.
Yeah, I noticed like edge lines are really important for you. 2 shapes that meet. So you're saying in like a Scandinavian ice-scape or snowscape?
Materials, tones, everything basically. And I bumped into this actually in school when I was this past semester. We had a really good design class, history of design, and we were really trying to break down and nitpick. The teacher and I nitpick the differences between Southwest and Scandinavian.
Oh, you've done
because
this.
that was harder than pointing out similarities was really easy. So. The differences was a lot
you
harder.
said color scheme. I mean, why?
Well,
how are the colors?
In the south part of Sweden, where I am raised, they make mud houses, not unlike like adobe. That's the construction of adobe houses. Mud houses exist all over the world, and I find it fascinating, in that extent that's across the board what humans have chosen to do after, I guess, they abandoned caves. Maybe some of us chose to build wood houses, but it's not favorable, I think, as a material in the long run in some parts of the world, depending on, structure of wood and resin and how it preserves and yada, yada. But the Swedish mud houses use limestone, so they're going to have the whitewashed, but that chunky look. And then they're going to have wood beams between. And those wood beams normally in Scandinavia, I think, are charred and tarred to preserve even further, to last for a long time. But they're going to be low, just like adobe houses. But they have the same look. So what you have there, again, is mud. You have the texture of mud, and the surfaces of those walls are not going to be completely flush. They're going to be structurized, right?
Yeah.
And so you have all those things that play with your eye, how the structure of the wall and the wood meets together, and there you go. I mean, it's basically, it's nature houses, but we construct them differently all over the world.
Was this all through osmosis in your childhood in Sweden, or did you have occasion? Was this like field trips, or were people still living in these?
People still live in these. It's all over. I mean, my town, unfortunately, had a pretty brutal time in the 60s, 70s, and 80s where the Million Project, they called it, was to get as many people into housing as possible.
Oh.
And into the same housing. So in parts of my town, they actually tore down old mud houses or Like, and they're gorgeous houses. They tore down big neighborhoods of them in favor of giant brick, small window apartment buildings.
Yeah.
Not unlike things that you would see in New York on the Lower East Side. I don't know if you've been down there, those giant brick project type housings. And they did a lot of that in Sweden in general, especially if you can compare. Like, I grew up in Malmo, which is 45 minutes. Back in the day, that was by boat to Copenhagen. And then nowadays it's by bridge and train. So it's about the same speed, 25 to 30, 45 minutes, I think. But the design and what they did in Copenhagen was not at all the same as what they did in inner city Sweden, especially my town. And it really does change the appearance. And that's why I treasure, some of those historic laws that we have in Santa Fe, to really kind of maintain and not make sure that things go down the drain too much.
So the 3 aesthetics that you shout out on your own website to categorize your work are contemporary, urban, and minimalist landscape. And now it's starting to definitely make sense, the pictures painted, why Sweden and Santa Fe really overlap for your voice.
I mean, yeah, Sweden, south part of Sweden, and Sweden in general, honestly, isn't a mountainous country. And I'm flabbergasted to be living amongst the mountains, and even more, in the high desert, connecting back to me as a teenager in Sweden, my big refuge when I was really not feeling that I wanted to be where I was. I would go to the ocean and sit there, and it was my kind of unhindered view west, because I was always wanting to come back to the U.S. as a kid and even grown up in Sweden. So, and it's hard to explain. I don't favor the political system here at all, and I don't favor the financial system at all. So there's something that goes beyond. I have strong American roots on my American side, go way back. But I think it's something beyond that. And especially here in the Southwest I've reached a certain level of healing here that I didn't think that I was gonna, just by being.
Me too.
I haven't been able to pay for services of, fancy treatments or whatever. It's just basically been being in nature, I think, hiking, mountainside or desert side. Just, it's so, how can we not heal here? If we allow us to. I think that's certain aspect you need to know how to just be out there and
this place
let yourself go.
Given me solace. I wrote a poem about it once.
Oh, really?
About my journey here. Yeah, I'll dig it up.
Yeah.
As a child, what did you want to be when you grew up?
The big childhood plans. I had 3 major things that I was extremely fascinated of. And it was space, so astronomy. It was nautical, like deep ocean stuff. My dad gave me some science books about deep ocean stuff, and I got super interested in that, like marine biology. Meteorology, like storms and shit. I lived through. I experienced a tornado as a kid in Dallas.
Wow.
And I mean, I wasn't technically in it, but it changed directions just a few blocks from our house. And then also paleontology. So like just really big subjects. My dad was smart enough. I may have been smart enough, but school was not a positive experience for me coming back to Sweden. So after a while, this inner city kid didn't do well in school.
Yeah. Well, next question is, what were you like in high school?
In high school is complex. I would probably say that high school is my most negative experience from school in Sweden. It was so political in a way. And I just got my first boyfriend, real relationship.
Yeah.
And he was a really introverted music nerd in the sense that it just, in a dark way.
Oh, no.
So we... I stepped outside of my high school experience a lot.
Okay.
I was never really, I never even went to my prom. That was partially because we didn't have a lot of money. My mother was a single mom. So, but my interest, I just kind of rolled through. I ended, the equivalent of junior high the last year, my best friends in junior high were the punks. And so coming into high school, I went to one of the snobbiest high schools in my town. And a lot of the kids that came from, really rich suburbs and had a whole different life than I did. And so it was aversion from day one. It was just really rough. I did some things really well, but I did not perform well in school.
School.
And it's okay. My mother wanted me to do a civics type, more mainstream, broad program.
Okay.
I got into photography school. I got into music school.
Secondary school, that's how they do it in Sweden? Or are you talking about college?
Well, this is high school. You can choose in high school sometimes what direction you want to go, or you always do. They have like 3 broad programs that people normally take, and it's like a social science / civics. The other one is economics, and the third one would be like a more biology-based mathematical direction where all the brainiacs went.
Okay.
Or
and which one did you do?
I did the civics one, and that's why I
she
failed.
wanted you to, so you did it. Okay.
Yeah, she wanted me to do a broad path instead of the artistic path, which, what is it? 25, 30 years later, I'm back.
Yeah.
On.
Yeah, you
and
found your way back. What was the launch point? What was the first big artistic project you presented to the world?
And yeah, project-based thinking. Falling onto photography the way I did through my illness, I was not thinking in project form. I was not. This is completely from the heart, gut, bottoms of my feet, wherever it's coming from. And so I'm not I'm getting more structured. I was a lot more structured last semester. I think school was really kind of setting me straight. I've been away from a structured path for a really long time, and school has been so long ago. And then considering I didn't really get a normal job, I took a music management degree when I was in the music industry back in the day. But even there, you're not really working, at least not the way we worked. We didn't work in clear projects. We did have marketing projects, things we were working on, but it was really kind of that lo-fi, bohemic, small label type work. It was just different from... I had a year-long marketing, and I think that's probably my last structurized time. I was a marketing assistant for one of Sweden's largest contemporary dance venues.
Okay.
And I had an old roster. I had all my rosters of different projects and stuff I was working on. That was structurized. I had a few structurized things when I was back working in the U.S., but it was the way we were set up there was just not the same. So for me to reel my way in after having been in those bohemic aspects of the music industry and them being sick is like coming full speed on one of those conveyor belts or whatever you call them when you at the airport, and it's like an escalator, but it's flat.
Yeah, moving sidewalks. Yeah. And
you run on those like when you were a kid, you ran on those, and then when you come to the stop, it's like you brutally stop because your body doesn't.
So in a way, would you want to say then that the way you're using Instagram, your entire Instagram portfolio, collection of stories and highlights, and that whole aesthetic and body of work, is that the first thing you've presented? The first large art project?
Yeah, because I didn't intend for it to be anything. Yeah. I didn't intend to be a photographer. I had 2 features with Simply Santa Fe. That was my first realization that, oh shit, some people may actually be liking what I'm doing. And so I started thinking about it differently after those features. And it's honestly like the first feature, it was hilarious because I didn't find out until a week later, or it wasn't really finding out. It was me realizing how hashtagging worked. And it's like I had been so out of the loop that I didn't really care. I sort of knew what they did, but I didn't really, do it purposefully. I didn't do it targeted. I put some hashtags there because I knew kind of sort of what they did.
Yeah, and it's working for you.
But
and
I mean, it's been a crash course in updating myself on what I was actually studying, 20 plus years ago, coming back in. And Facebook is such a negative experience for me. I actually deleted mine. And I mean, I have a fake Facebook page that I had to have for a health fundraiser that we had. But I mean, yeah, that one's gone. That profile's gone. But I like Instagram. I do Flickr on occasion. I go through waves of Flickr.
Oh, neat. I've never heard of a photographer using that as a way to connect.
It's fun. I mean, I found that, you can play it. So you can play them against each other, or not against, but, utilize each other. And there are ways to get Flickr more dynamic.
Uh-huh.
I do miss a little bit of community on Flickr because it doesn't have some of those features that connect you in that way. But that's also kind of what's nice about Flickr. Sometimes it's just it feels like, lake swimming as opposed to ocean swimming. Ooh. So Flickr is like a lake. It's just more still.
And then what's the ocean?
And the ocean is Instagram.
Instagram. Yeah, we're going to...
everything. You got waves, you got fish, everything's going around, commotion, boats, all of that.
I got your Instagram open on my phone right now. It just suits you, I got to say. I really love your voice, your aesthetic. We're going to do a deep dive on your Instagram at Sara Culler, Culler, after we play a game.
Okay.
A trivia game to test your domain expertise of one photography, but really this time, Santa Fe. So it's called Santa Fe Sweats, a.k.a. oft photograph locations or hikes or outings around the city different. So I'll just tell you a little bit about a experience in Santa Fe that's often photographed.
Okay.
And you got to name, you got to give some keywords relating to the place or the thing. And if you get all three right, you get this beautiful, very fine VHS edition version of Casablanca.
I love that. Oh, cool.
You
That's
love
awesome.
it. Good. Inglorious black and white remastered collector's edition.
That was super cool. A VHS.
Yes, it's used, but I gotta say this one's like an 8 out of 10. There's really only minor.
I mean, I don't have a VHS player, but it has the look. It's just
it feels way better
amazing.
Than a DVD. So that's what we're playing for.
I thought it was a pocketbook because it looks exactly like the design. Everything is very similar to a pocketbook. I didn't see that it's
a pocketbook, like a place to put money in a credit card.
Everything about it doesn't matter.
Winner of 3 Oscars. That's what it says on the back.
So I'm supposed to say what?
You'll say the name of the local experience, location, hiking trail.
You're going to give me cues?
Yeah, well, let's go through the first one, and if you don't get it, we can break it apart more. So
this is where my neurological brain tends to overanalyze stuff.
Yeah, we'll see. Question number 1. Overlooking Santa Fe, this reinforced concrete cross stands 25 feet tall and weighs 76 tons. I know it as the easy breezy 5-minute hike up to the best view of downtown Santa Fe.
I know exactly where it is. I just don't know the name of it. It's the Martyr Cross up there.
Oh, you nailed it. Cross of the Martyrs.
Cross of the Martyrs. Yeah, I took some of my first pictures were actually from that park up there.
Yeah.
That was one of the first times that I realized that I really enjoyed thinking through different angles and stuff like that. It was just a different cerebral experience.
I've been taking visitors up there. My sister and a friend of mine walked up there recently, and I noticed the cell tower in downtown Santa Fe, and it was like this visual revelation that I've been tuning that out. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I think about it every time I see it up there.
Yeah.
It's such a weird contrasting eyesore sometimes.
Are you seeing it when you walk around downtown Santa Fe now?
I think about them on occasion. I mean, I'm happy that Santa Fe is, reluctant. It's sad that we're building a technology that has, that it's always sad that everything has to be political in a way because we need to question and we can't trust anything that is, financed by certain dollars. And can we get clarity as to, how much is okay and how much is not okay when I'm talking about health aspects? I'm not a health nut in the sense, I have Wi-Fi at home. I'll use Bluetooth speakers and all that stuff. But I used to be more vigilant about these things. So they do still circulate in my brain. When I was coughing up thousands of dollars a week on medical treatments for my health issues that I experienced in the past, it becomes a different thing. If you're wasting that, not wasting, but if you're spending that much money on healthcare products, you need to make sure that you're doing everything as okay as possible so that we're not putting unnecessary money or even pharmaceuticals in our system.
Absolutely.
Trying to fix. So there were times when that was an issue for me. It's definitely not an issue anymore, but.
Cool. So you're still in the running for Casablanca. We're going to go on to question 2. You got to go 3 for 3 on oft photographed locations or hikes or outings.
Okay.
In and around the city different. Right. Question 2. This cathedral shares its name with a main Santa Fe thoroughfare.
Oh, yeah, the St. Francis Cathedral.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good job. Ding. Okay. So maybe these are too easy. Third and final question. The hardest hike I've been on. It starts behind St. John's College. It's very easy to get lost. And this makes getting to the top a special award, as it's a rare selfie that you get to brag that you made it.
Atalaya Mountain?
Yeah.
Done that many times.
You've done it many times?
I used to do that hike and then go to hot yoga class. I used to do the original. I actually did 10 years consecutively of Bikram yoga, which is 90 minutes and 105 degrees and 60% humidity. I would do crazy ass hikes and then go do my 90 minutes of yoga. But the reason why I did that was because I was less sore afterwards. That kicks your ass.
So have you photographed these 3 places?
Oh yeah.
You have?
Definitely. Maybe not the cathedral. I mean, in all honor, there are plenty of well-documented depictions of that place.
Okay.
I mean, I'm certain I have it somewhere in my hoarding of digital pictures somewhere. I mean, I took a lot of pictures when I was walking around and new-ish in town. We lived on Santa Fe Avenue for quite some time, and so I would walk downtown every week. And so it's possible, but I've never, taken a picture purposefully. And I just find other things
more interesting.
I mean, for me, it's not that it's not interesting. It's just that it's been done a lot, and I find that a lot of people have done it better than me. So
I'm scrolling through your Instagram right now, and I love everything. It's mundane. It's a mundane view, but it's also like this vital and exciting view. It's the cliche that I've never seen before. Boy, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, but you seem very naturally inclined to discover things we see every day that no one's paying attention to.
I mean, it's in the beginning, I would say it's sort of inevitable when you come from the state that I discovered or rediscovered photography from, like being sick, not having a lot of money, and honestly, there are a few years have gone now since I stopped my treatment and stuff, but I've been thinking back, and I used to hold a lot of anger and resentment towards people and relationships that I had when all hell broke loose. And I had moved as a new person to a new country, even though I'm not technically a new country and I was a U.S. citizen. It was like an immigration thing, and we hadn't really built the social connections that were strong enough to sustain somebody falling down into a dark hole of health issues. Mm-hmm. So for me, that aspect was, I think, the most eye-opening. I'm not sure where we're going with the connection again with my.
Yeah, I just want to tell the listeners that I love your Instagram. They should check it out.
So so what I was saying,
it's a burgeoning account, 3,300 followers.
Yeah, it's weird. To get appreciation that way, because connecting back to the mundane, coming from that aspect where you're kind of like licking the ground because you're just trying to manage the next day and the next day and the next day, both taking all the pills and feeling really sick and getting worse before you're getting better, social, economical aspects of it, and so many variables that just are in the storm. And so seeing the small little details are sometimes, and also being able to see that there's beauty in it, the way light hits it, or the way rain has, dampened and stained a mud house wall, or wood, or the way, trees glow in the forest, or we have so much diversity up here. And I'm really happy to having been able to challenge not challenge, channel my view, because I get really, really dark so often. And it's probably the both positive and most negative aspect of me is my darkness. I mean, it can go all consuming and really so on. So the photography helps balance a little bit of that side.
Is it dragging you out of bed some days, getting you out your front door to go shoot a little bit on a walk or something?
I always take pictures when I walk. Honestly, I do that more often than I do planned photo shoots. I haven't done a lot of planned photo shoots because on several personal planes, I'm going through some really kind of strong and difficult turmoil at the moment. Yeah. And it's kind of draining that, just the mind space, to even be in the mind space. It's not that I don't feel like it. It's just that I'm not even thinking about it, because it's just other things right now. And honestly, I don't dwell in the other things either. I just tend to go, when things are like this, I just go blank, and I stay in this kind of like lobotomized zone where it's better to not think about anything. But I've been trying. 2 weeks ago, I think I went out I said, I'm going to have to try to just see if I can do this even when I'm like this. And I did produce quite a few good images. I haven't sat down by the computer with some of them yet, but that was eye-opening in a way, which gave me comfort. I never thought that I could force photograph, but that's the first time I was actually able to force photograph.
Yeah, I gotta say your stories are fun because it seems like you have you're putting more into the stories, more different photographs, more variety and quantity, because you have like a lower maybe quality filter. You're experimenting more.
I mean, not really. I'm just taking like a lot of pictures that I take and put in stories. I may be doing when I'm actually out there. I'm just using my cell phone, and they are completely unedited and raw. Okay. And I just slap them up on stories. Last year when COVID hit, I was doing a lot of different types of stories that I connected music to. And I would do sometimes like up to 30 pictures, and you had to sync the whole song. If you wanted a continuous same song. It's a stupid function of the Instagram, but I'm pretty certain it's a royalty question.
I don't think it's
But I did like stupid. 15 minutes of, instead of like, say I have 30 pictures and I want to sync one in the same song for all those 30 pictures. Okay. You have to personally sit and count 15, 30, 45, and then all those increments and add songs after that. It's a little stupid, and I think it's a royalty, and that's not stupid, but it's a little annoying out of a creative perspective to not be able to just slap a whole song up there and cue a bunch of music.
Yeah, batch tasks.
Or pictures to that. But anyway, so yeah, I used to do that, and it was really fun, and I got super good feedback from it. But it's way too time consuming. Yeah. And so this year every now and then I put music to pictures, but it's been mostly to just throw up the really raw and unedited. I rarely put edited pictures on the stories. It's
really fun. We get to sort of be with you as you're making your walks around town.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I mean. I live such an isolated life that sadly, and it's something that I have to remind myself of a lot, is that there is a reality outside of social media, and it's important to always, connect into those thoughts, even though you may not have your big social network on the outside. Just thinking about it to maintain an awareness that there's growth potential in other areas of your life.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So that will dovetail into the clay pot, which is a little mix of brick and mortar and digital networking. It's a collection of fan questions.
Oh, cool.
People sitting at home listening who want to participate can leave a question for any upcoming artist. It's got to be generic but artistic, or anything. Leave it as a comment on Artist with Brian on Instagram. We'll pull them out at random. First fan question for you, Sarah, is who do you want to call out right now as an upcoming guest on this show?
I would have to say I have two people in mind, or three, actually, three people in mind. I would say my husband, David Fridland. He's an interesting person that is both an illustrator and musician.
Cool.
My friend Batil Dagdalen, who is an amazing weaver and welder. And Jill Prendergast. I'm not sure if you know who she is. She's a poet.
We might interact on Instagram. That sounds so familiar.
Yeah, she should really. I love hearing her talk. And I love reading her words.
Well, I love things that come in threes, so maybe we've got to do all three of them. We'll have to stay connected. They all sound like great recommendations. Second fan question. Would you take a one-way trip to Mars? One way.
No. I believe that we should be taking care of where we are right now. And maybe the people on top know that we've gone too far. And that's why, there's so much investment in space.
Yeah.
But I'm so cynical when it comes to those questions that I'll always go back to the fact that, it's either that we are too late or that there are financial investments for these people, and that's the only reason why they're going. Yeah. Because, well, I'm not even going to go reveal how cynical I am, but it's pretty up there. I'm fascinated by space explorers. I do. One of my favorite genres is science fiction, and the Great Frontier, just exploring the endless amounts of space we have. But that said, I do think that we should be minding our own business here before we explore elsewhere. I mean, how many times do we as human beings, I mean, it happens all the time, but how many times, if we think about it, should human beings, we need to take care of ourselves before we enter relationships with other people, correct?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. If we're bringing the toxicity of the human species elsewhere, we don't really need to do that right now.
That's one thing that's occurred to me, is this idea of terraforming Mars, making it like mimicking the Earth's climate. We're going to have to solve global warming here and understand the technology and behaviors to solve that.
We know nothing.
Yeah, before we can transform like a burning hot desert with no oxygen.
It's so typical humans, though.
Yeah.
The whole aspect is so typical humans. And I mean, I follow NASA on LinkedIn, actually. And I love everything about the factual aspects of it. But cognitively, I think we should take a ton of steps back. Yeah. And start, looking inward instead of outward. Because, I mean, there's so many things we need to fix here. There's so many answers we still don't have questions for when it comes to our health and our people, our species. So, I mean, we don't have to get bored if that's what... But I don't think that's where it's at. Like I said before, I think there are two reasons why we're out there.
Look, follow the money and you'll get the story. Yeah. In almost everything, huh? Final fan question for you. The book you recommend to young artists?
Advice book or just in general?
Anything. It could be the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Oh. Oh, goodness. There's so many good books. It's been a long time, and I really miss it. But because I had my health issues were neurological to an extent, I haven't read in a long time. But there are some books that I've really kind of made. Some are cliche books. I was a big, big, big nerd Lord of the Rings fan as a kid. And, even as whatever I was, 20s, I think, when the movies came and, all that New Zealand Tolkien stuff. Anyway, Neon Bible is a book that's been coming back to me over and over again. It's what's his name? John Toole. Huh. And he wrote the book. I think it was released post-mortem. He's also the author of, or Kennedy Toole. What's his name? John Kennedy Toole. Confederacy of Dunces.
Haven't heard it either.
So the Neon Bible you may have heard in a different form because it inspired the Arcade Fire's album.
Oh, wow.
He's a big fan of the author.
Okay.
And I remember reading that book around the time that the album came out. And I reread the book multiple times, actually once probably directly after I read it first time. It's a really, really interesting and fascinating. He wrote it when he was 16 years old, I think. And then it was released after his death. And his mom was the person who kind of held his postmortem control.
And what is it?
And it's a documentation of, I think, the American South, basically. And it's a lot of, it questions a lot of the way Christianity has taken form in the South and how it influences people, the people of the South.
And it's called the Neon Bible.
Neon Bible.
That's
and that one is it'll suck you in. It's a pretty dark book. The train of events are not unexpected. But
that's exciting. I'm not a young artist anymore, but I'm going to check it out. Neon Bible, everybody.
And I think, connecting through, it's easy sometimes for younger artists, kids, even if you're in your 20s, those kind of things. If you have multiple sources of art connecting, like in this sense, you have literary form and you have music. So if you like the Arcade Fire and you like that album that was called Neon Bible, you maybe want to read the book that, he was inspired by to connect back to the roots and the sources of everything. And that's kind of how we branch out and I think find different paths and new ways to look at things and really important parts of, exploring the self as well, is how we explore those things. So they go both outward and inward.
Very
for
good.
Sure.
Yeah, the people that have listened to you today and enjoyed hearing who you are and what you do, where would you send them? Online or in person? That would most help you and them get to know you better and maybe buy some art, prints. I mean,
Instagram is kind of the main. I have a website. It's www.saracolorphotography not at gmail.com. That's kind of not even the email address. Whatever. Erase that.
saracolorphotography.com.
.com is how it ends. And then, my Instagram is where you'll get a really swift reply.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In a DM or as a comment?
I prefer any type of personal conversations to be had over DM and not in comments. That said, we can always spark conversations in comments and then move on to a more private room. But, and I do answer emails. I check my email every day. So, most of the time I could get to important email like that. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not an artist that sells a lot of photography. I'm honest about that. I find that that's something that is an interesting conversation sparker. Why it is that way. I've had the conversations with a lot of different people, but it doesn't really hurt. You just continue making your stuff and you sell what you sell. Yeah, basically.
I'm responding to your work differently than I've ever responded for photography. And I think because to you or the way you're doing it right now, it's a living thing, especially with the stories. So go check out her Instagram and see what I'm talking about.
Thank you so much. Those are really kind words.
Awesome. Sara Culler on Instagram, SaraCuller. Rate this podcast, Artists with Brian, in iTunes. If you leave a written review, you might win a $25 iTunes gift card. Thank you to our sticker sponsors. We've got 3 right now. Oasis Camper Vans out of Boulder, Colorado. Minivan camper van conversions. The craftsmanship is so good. Most of their customers are out of state. At Oasis Camper Vans on Instagram. Santa Fe Independent Film Club, free to attend. Join the group that makes short films on a regular basis with its members, 6 to 8 p.m. every Thursday at Boxcar in Santa Fe. And of course, our very first ever sticker sponsor, Santa Fe Human Rights Alliance. Visit hrasantafe.org. If you have never heard of Sticker Partners and you're curious and you own a business or run an organization, how it works is you'll get 50 Artists with Brian laminate logo stickers, high quality stickers that You'll either put in like a to-go bag, hand out to your club members, whatever. DM me on Instagram for more information at Artist with Brian. You'll get mentioned in this segment at the end of every show. You'll get a blog write-up at artistwithbrian.com, and you'll get lots of Instagram love. Sarah, before we go, let's record a question for a guest in the second half of season 3. So you get to come up with the question, and we'll put it on audio so they'll listen to it. It'll be a little time capsule from you a few weeks from now.
A question for another artist. Okay. How are you creative, if you are creative? How are you creative through your darkest hours?
Oh, very good. Very good. It's got my brain turning already. Thank you.
Yeah, I would love to hear. I need to mention another person that you should have on the show.
Sure.
He's a good friend of mine. His name is Frost Fowler.
Okay.
And he's a Navajo, born and raised native filmer that works for IAIA at the moment.
Cool.
He was a former student there. And he's been a good friend of mine through this past year. Actually, we connected at Iconic, the cafe, and have been doing some pictures and stuff together. It's fun. He's an interesting person to talk to. Frost Fowler, yeah. He's also on Instagram.
Very good. Thank you for coming.
No worries.